Good afternoon, Your Honour. This is case number IT 95-5/18, the case against the prosecutor versus Mr. Radovan Karadžić.
Good afternoon, Mr. Karadžić. You are Mr. Radovan Karadžić.
Yes,
I am.
I'm Judge Alfonsori, and I will be presiding over your initial appearance in this tribunal today. I first of all want to make certain that you're able to follow the proceedings in your own language. Can you hear me in a language you understand?
Yes, I can.
If at any time you are not receiving interpretation, or if it is difficult for you to hear the interpretation, please inform me immediately so that we can redress that. Later in the proceedings, I will inform you about the allegations against you, Mr. Karadžić. And so it is important now that I inform you that you have a fundamental right before this tribunal to remain silent in these proceedings. And if you choose to remain silent, it will not be held against you. Is that understood?
Yes.
Then let me now first have the appearances. Prosecution first.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. On behalf of the prosecutor, Serge Brammertz, I'm with my senior trial attorney, Alan Tiger, and Ian Wheat, case manager.
Thank you, Mr. Brammertz. Mr. Karadžić, I see that you are alone. At least I do not see counsel assisting or representing you at this moment. Is it your choice not to be represented by counsel at this initial appearance?
I have an invisible advisor, but I've decided to represent myself.
Yes, during this initial appearance. Yes. You were informed that, apart from your invisible counsel, that counsel can be assigned, duty counsel can be assigned if you need one. You were informed about that, right?
Yes, but I waived that right.
That's clear, thank you. Mr. Karadžić, this brings us to the point of the indictment against you, and I think it's appropriate that I give a brief procedural history first. You were included in an initial indictment with case number IT 95-5, which was filed by the Office of the Prosecution on the 24th of July 1995, and confirmed on the 25th of July 1995. A subsequent indictment with case number IT 95-18 was filed on the 14th of November 1995 and confirmed on the 16th of November 1995. On the 11th of July 1996, a review of the indictment under Rule 61 of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence took place. Subsequently, the prosecutor submitted an amended indictment on the 24th of May 2000 under the case number IT 95-5/18, which consolidated the initial and subsequent indictments, reducing the charges to the most serious counts. This amended indictment was confirmed on the 31st of May 2000 and remained under seal until it was made public on the 11th of October 2002. It is the current operative indictment in this case against you. As a result of this indictment, you were arrested on Monday, the 21st of July 2008 in Belgrade, Serbia, and subsequently you were transferred to the seat of this tribunal on the 30th of July 2008. The indictment states that you were born on the 19th of June 1945 in the municipality of Zavnik in the Republic of Montenegro, which was then a part of Yugoslavia. According to the prosecution, you were a founding member of the Serbian Democratic Party of Bosnia and Herzegovina, also called SDS, and you held various high offices in the government of the entity known as the Serbian Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. For example, it is alleged that between the 17th of December 1992 and the 19th July 1996, you were sole president of the Republika Srpska. The prosecution further alleges that in these positions you had power and control over Bosnian Serb forces, including military, paramilitary and police units, as well as all SDS and government authorities, including crisis staffs, war presidencies and war commissions that participated in the crimes alleged in the indictment. The indictment alleges that between the 1st of July 1991 and the 30th of November 1995, you, acting individually or in concert with other Bosnian Serb officials, planned, instigated, ordered, committed, or otherwise aided and abetted a course of conduct which included persecution and terror tactics to force non-Serbs out of certain areas in Bosnia and Herzegovina that had been proclaimed part of the Serbian Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. These included the municipalities of Bijeljina, Bratunac, Foča, Prijedor, and Zvornik. It is alleged that many of those non-Serbs who did not flee in reaction to these tactics were either forcibly deported or killed. The indictment lists in excess of a dozen instances in which scores of civilians were killed during and after the attacks on the targeted areas. The indictment also lists numerous detention camps where non-Serbs were taken. These included camps in various municipalities, such as the Manjača camp in Banja Luka, the Luka camp in Brčko, the KP Dom in Foča, and the Omarska, Keraterm, and Tronopolje camps in Prijedor. According to the indictment, thousands of non-Serbs were forcibly transferred or deported from the targeted areas, and non-Serbs in the targeted areas were denied fundamental rights such as the right to work, freedom of movement, access to judicial process, and equal access to medical care. The indictment further alleges the wanton destruction of non-Serb property, including religious institutions. The indictment goes on to allege that Bosnian Serb forces massacred thousands of civilians in and around the enclave of Srebrenica in July 1995. In particular, the indictment alleges that these forces executed thousands of Bosnian Muslim men at the places where they were detained shortly after they had been captured, as well as at other sites to which they had been transported for execution. The indictment further alleges that Bosnian Serb forces engaged in a campaign of terror, including shelling and sniping against the civilian population of Sarajevo beginning in 1992. According to the indictment, for 44 months, Bosnian Serb forces surrounding Sarajevo implemented a military strategy that used shelling and sniping to kill, maim, wound and terrorize the civilian inhabitants of Sarajevo. It is alleged that thousands of civilians, including children and the elderly, were killed and wounded. Mr. Karadžić, you are charged with one count of genocide under Article 4 of the Statute of the International Tribunal, with one count of complicity in genocide under Article 4 of the Statute, with 5 counts of crimes against humanity under Article 5 of the Statute, and with 4 counts of war crimes under Articles 2 and 3 of the Statute. The indictment alleges that these crimes were committed during an armed conflict, and that the armed conflict was international in nature, that the acts or omissions charged as crimes against humanity were part of a widespread or systematic attack on the non-Serb civilian population in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and that the acts or omissions charged as genocide were committed with the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, the Bosnian Muslim and Bosnian Croat ethnic groups. Mr. Karadžić, you are charged with individual criminal responsibility under Article 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal for having planned, instigated, ordered, committed, or otherwise aided and abetted in the planning, preparation, or execution of the crimes alleged in the indictment, acting individually or in concert with others between the 1st of July 1991 and the 30th November 1995. You're also charged with superior responsibility pursuant to Article 7.3 of the Statute of the Tribunal. The indictment alleges that because of your position and power and the widespread nature of the events described in the indictment between the 1st of July 1991 and the 30th of November 1995, you knew or had reason to know that Bosnian Serb forces under your direction and control were committing these crimes, and that you failed to take the necessary and reasonable steps to prevent these crimes or punish those who committed them. In addition, the indictment alleges that between the 1st of December 1995 and the 19th of July 1996, you knew or had reason to know that Bosnian Serb forces under your direction and control had committed these crimes, but that you failed to punish them. That is a summary of the indictment against you, and it is a summary only. In a few minutes, I will ask you if you would like the indictment to be read in its entirety to you. Mr. Karadžić, on the 22nd of July 2008, the President of this tribunal assigned this case to Trial Chamber 1. On the 30th of July 2008, as presiding judge of Trial Chamber 1, I designated myself as judge for this initial appearance. The initial appearance is governed by Rule 62 of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence and involves my informing you of the charges against you and asking for your entry of a plea. But prior to this, I have a few additional identifying questions for you. Mr. Karadžić, would you please state your full name for the record?
Radovan Karadžić.
Radovan Karadžić.
And Mr. Karadžić, could you state the date and place of your birth?
19 June 1945. Village Petinjica, near Shavnik in Montenegro.
Thank you for those answers. Mr. Karadžić, I'm going to ask you now for your most recent address at which you resided prior to your arrival at the seat of the tribunal. You may inform me in open or public session, but if you prefer to inform me in private session, we'll go into private session. Private session means that only the persons inside this courtroom and the immediate audiovisual and interpreter booth would hear what you say, thereby excluding the public. Would you like to answer my question about your most recent address in private session, or would you prefer to do in a public session?
In public session.
Then could you please answer the question at what address you resided before you arrived at this tribunal?
My official address is my family house, that is the house of my wife, at Pale, Krivače, in Pale, Republika Srpska. But if you're asking me about my unofficial address, the one I had under my other identity, it was in Belgrade, Yurija Gagarina Street, number 267.
Thank you. Mr. Karadžić, I also would have some questions regarding your family and the embassy of the country of which you are a national. First of all, is your family informed about your transfer to and your detention in the United Nations detention unit at this tribunal in The Hague?
Yes.
Of course, we do not go into the details of your family members. Is there anyone you'd like the registry, in addition to those who are informed already, to be notified by the registry about your presence in The Hague and your detention here?
I don't believe there is anyone who doesn't know that I'm in the detention unit.
Yes. Nevertheless, I have to put the next question to you as well, whether the embassy of the country of which you are a national is informed about your detention in The Hague. This may look like formalities, but we have to go through them.
I consider myself to be a national of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Republika Srpska, Montenegro and Serbia. I have met the ambassador of Montenegro at the airport, as well as the ambassador of Serbia, but no one has been to see me from Montenegro yet.
Now you said that you have met the ambassador of Montenegro at the airport, but no one has
Interpreter's correction, Bosnia and Herzegovina is the last thing.
There was a slight mistake in interpretation. That doesn't happen that often, but it now and then happens. I do understand that you have spoken to, let me see, no one from Montenegro has seen you yet, and you've spoken with the representatives of Bosnia and Herzegovina and Serbia. Is that correctly understood?
I've talked to the representative of Serbia, and I have only greeted the ambassador of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yes, but at least that includes that he's aware of your present situation. Would you like the... of course, I cannot at this moment say anything about whether you are Montenegro national, yes or no, but if there would be any wish that the authorities would be informed by the registry, please let me know so that we can take care of that.
Well, if they don't know I'm here, somebody should inform them, but for the time being, I don't need their diplomatic representative.
That's on the record then. Mr. Karadžić, one of my obligations as a judge for this initial appearance is to satisfy myself that your rights are respected. Articles 20 and 21 of the statute of the Tribunal address the commencement and conduct of trial proceedings and the rights of an accused. I will ask the registrar to read to you the full text of these two articles.
Article 20, commencement and conduct of trial proceedings. The trial chamber shall ensure that a trial is fair and expeditious, and that the proceedings are conducted in accordance with the rules of procedure and evidence, with full respect for the rights of the accused and due regard for the protection of victims and witnesses. A person against whom an indictment has been confirmed shall, pursuant to an order or an arrest warrant of the International Tribunal, be taken into custody, immediately informed of the charges against him, and transferred to the International Tribunal. The trial chamber shall read the indictment, satisfy itself that the rights of the accused are respected, confirm that the accused understands the indictment, and instruct the accused to enter a plea. The trial chamber shall then set the date for trial. The hearings shall be public unless the trial chamber decides to close the proceedings in accordance with its rules of procedure and evidence. Article 21, Rights of the Accused. All persons shall be equal before the International Tribunal. In the determination of charges against him, the accused shall be entitled to a fair and public hearing, subject to Article 22 of the statute. The accused shall be presumed innocent until proved guilty according to the provisions of the present statute. In the determination of any charge against the accused pursuant to the present statute, the accused shall be entitled to the following minimum guarantees and full equality. A. To be informed promptly and in detail in a language which he understands of the nature and cause of the charge against him. B, to have adequate time and facilities for the preparation of his defense and to communicate with counsel of his own choosing. C, to be tried without undue delay. D, to be tried in his presence and to defend himself in person or through legal assistance of his own choosing, to be informed if he does not have legal assistance of his right, and to have legal assistance assigned to him in any case where the interest of justice so require, and without payment by him in any such case if he does not have sufficient means to pay for it. E, to examine or have examined the witnesses against him and to obtain the attendance and examination of witnesses on his behalf under the same conditions as witnesses against him. F, to have the free assistance of an interpreter if he cannot understand or speak the language used in the International Tribunal. And G, not to be compelled to testify against himself or to confess guilt.
Thank you, Madam Registrar. Mr. Karadžić, do you understand the importance of those rights that were just read to you?
Da.
Yes, yes.
Do you wish me to explain in any further detail these rights before we continue?
No, I don't think so.
Then we'll move on. Mr. Karadžić, I earlier have summarized the indictment in your case. Let me first ask you whether you received a copy of the indictment in your own language.
Yes.
Did you understand its contents?
I'm still studying it.
Mr. Karadžić, you have the right to have the indictment read out to you in full here in open court. Do you want to exercise this right or do you want to waive this right?
I'm not interested in having someone else read the indictment to me. I would rather receive the new indictment that has been announced and sufficient time to study it, and then have my initial appearance after that and enter my plea. Even more than that, I wish to inform you of the numerous irregularities having to do with my appearance here.
Let's take matters one by one. You are talking about a new indictment which was announced. I don't think that the Chamber has yet received, Mr. Brammertz, a new indictment. From what Mr. Karadžić tells us, can I take it that you're preparing a new amended indictment?
Yes, Your Honor, we are indeed preparing.
Could you please switch on your microphone?
Yes, Your Honor, we are indeed. We indeed intend to amend the indictment.
Yes, and I take it that that will take place on relatively short notice then?
Yes, indeed. We cannot yet give a date, but it will be as soon as possible.
Yes. Mr. Karadžić, the Chamber was not informed about a new indictment to be prepared, but on the basis of what you told us, it's now confirmed by the prosecution that a new indictment will be submitted to the Chamber. And of course, the prosecution is not free to amend the indictment. They need the approval of the Chamber to have an indictment amended. And that is a process in which, of course, you have an opportunity to express your views on the amendment of the indictment as well, whether it should be approved or not. So we'll come to that at a later stage, and I do understand that you rather focus on what will be the indictment soon, as least as the prosecution will submit it. Then I go back to the operative indictment at this moment. You said I'm not interested in having the operative indictment read to me. I'd rather wait for the new one. Pursuant to Rule 62, subparagraph A, subparagraph 3 of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence, you are hereby called upon to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty on each count of the indictment, either today or within 30 days of this initial appearance. I take it already a bit from your earlier answer that you might be inclined not to enter a plea today. But you have 30 days. If, of course, the indictment will be amended, and if that would take place within 30 days, then we are in a new situation. But if not yet the new amended indictment exists, then you'll be invited to enter a plea on the operative indictment. And if then the indictment will be changed, then first of all you'll be given an opportunity to make submissions on the proposed new indictment. And if such a new indictment would be approved by the Chamber, and if it contains new charges, then of course you'll get another opportunity to enter a plea on the new indictment to the extent the charges are not the same. Is that clear to you, Mr. Karadžić?
Zadovoljan sam.
I'm satisfied with your understanding of my position. It's clear to me.
Yes, and then your position, then I repeat that you prefer not to enter a plea today and to see what happens in the next 30 days. And then you might be either invited to enter a plea on the operative indictment, or, if there's a new amended indictment, already on the new amended indictment. Then we have to schedule anyhow a new hearing within the next 30 days, whether or not the indictment will be amended meanwhile or not. But we'll have a second initial appearance then within 30 days. Now, if I count 30 days from now on, I think we end up on a Saturday. We can do two things to schedule a new initial appearance on the Friday, that is the 29th day, or to postpone it until the 1st of September, which would be a little bit more than 30 days. Do you have any problems in having the next initial appearance scheduled for the 29th of August?
If it's not the 28th of August, then I have no objection.
Then we'll come to that, Mr. Karadžić.